Hello and welcome to Young Turks. We are in conversation with Bhavish Aggarwal of OLA Cabs today. And Bhavish, it's been a sort of season for confessions, so to speak, 2017. Hello and welcome to Young Turks. We are in conversation with Bhavish Aggarwal of OLA Cabs today. And Bhavish, it's been a sort of season for confessions, so to speak, 2017, right? We saw the letter that came from the Snapdeal founders earlier this year. Yogi from Stazilla put out something, and of course, that case is still going on in Chennai. Earlier this week, we had Naveen Tiwari from InMobi say that the company has become profitable at an operational level. Hello and welcome to Young Turks. We are in conversation with Bhavish Aggarwal of OLA Cabs today. And Bhavish, it's been a sort of season for confessions, so to speak, 2017, right? We saw the letter that came from the Snapdeal founders earlier this year. Yogi from Stazilla put out something, and of course, that case is still going on in Chennai. Earlier this week, we had Naveen Tiwari from InMobi say that the company has become profitable at an operational level. I think Dipinder Goel from Zomato wrote a blog saying that they are headed down that path as well. So let's begin this interview. What's your confession for 2017?
That's a very interesting take on the context, right? And
right.
For me, it is great that companies like InMobi, Zomato, etc. are getting to profitability. InMobi is already there, and that's actually an inspiration for the entire ecosystem. And our focus also is to be profitable soon, and we are on that path. We have a clear path to profitability, and we have a strong growth momentum behind us, and we have a strong bottom line improvement momentum behind us. And we see that we will get to profitability in the next 18 to 24 months.
Okay.
So I don't have any big confessions to make, but that's the direction in which OLA is headed.
All right. So 18 to 24 months to profitability. So when we talk of profitability, of course, it's at different, it's at operational level, it's at, in different measures. What kind of profitability are we talking about? Are we talking about certain cities turning profitable for you, certain verticals turning profitable for you? You mentioned that Ola Auto, for instance, in certain markets is 100% profitable. So talk us through how you're measuring this profitability, in what context?
So already today, more than half of our cities are profitable.
So you're in 100 cities?
We're in 110 cities now. We've launched a few more, and we are profitable in more than half. And as a city gets to a certain scale, or a certain kind of cities are fundamentally profitable. And we will get to operational profitability actually sooner, in the next 6 to 8 months.
Okay.
This is overall bottom line, PBT level.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Talking about burn, and this was something that I'm going to pick up from what Dipinder wrote in his blog. He's dedicated some space in that blog to, how they consciously work towards bringing down their burn and so on and so forth. I know that you'll be wary of sharing particular numbers, but what's your stand on that? And, this emanates also from the other argument of having a very big, deep-pocketed player in the market that, like you've said very publicly, that, has sort of an infinite pool to pump in to subsidize the market and win market share in that sense. What does that do for the burn that you're doing and so on and so forth?
See, our focus has always been that we will be the market share leader, and we have always been the market share leader. Even today, despite irrational competition, we continue to be the leaders, and we are gaining market share. When I look at growth and when I look at market share gain, there are two ways to do that. One is pricing led. You can pump in all the money you want in consumer discounts, in supply side subsidies, and you can get a lot of vanity metric growth. We've adopted a different strategy over the past 1 to 2 years. We have focused on doing fundamental business model innovations and getting growth through that and growing the market overall. For example, we have a subsidiary business where we buy the cars, and that's helped us grow our supply fundamentally because we are adding more supply into the ecosystem. And then we train drivers through our driver training schools, which we help set up and operate. Okay. And then we bring new drivers which are better trained over a month into this ecosystem. We give them our car to drive on an operating lease. And this is a very profitable model of growth. I don't have to subsidize that driver. I don't have to play a pricing war.
Okay. This was something that originally Meru was doing, right? Sort of, if you go back 8-10 years, that was essentially the Meru model: buy out the cars, train the drivers, put them on the road. Of course, they weren't doing it through an app. It was a call center and all of that. So there is merit in going back to some of the basics then?
The basics always remain the same. The contexts, different market contexts need different types of execution strategies. But in the end, the customer doesn't care whether it's a driver-owned car or the company-owned car. Correct. He just wants a good quality driver. Okay. Yeah.
And the customer actually doesn't care. We've seen that across e-commerce. We're seeing that in transport as well. That, it's actually people will open both apps, look at, what cab is cheaper right now for me and take that. There is very little loyalty in that sense. How do you overcome that? And, it goes back to the question of how much money are you going to keep pumping in to kind of, not, and it's all a black hole at the end of the day.
So again, I'll go back to my point of pricing not being the only lever for retaining a customer or growing a market. We focused a lot recently on loyalty initiatives. We are the only ride-sharing company in the world which has a loyalty program called OLA Select. And it's doing very well. People love the value that they get through it. For example, you will not have to pay peak pricing or surge pricing when you use our loyalty program, and you get free lounge access at the airport. So there's value to you, the customer.
So we're seeing clearly two different approaches. Uber is present in about 29 odd cities, and their strategy seems to be going deeper into those cities where perhaps the consumer wallet is larger, right? So over a period of time, even if they were to start increasing their fares, the consumer there might be able to take that. Ola, on the other hand, along with your vision of actually, building modern public transport for the country, has spread itself more widely, 110 cities. So outside of, the 30, 40 odd big cities, we know that the consumer wallet in the other cities is much smaller. You're going to stick with this strategy? How many of these 100 odd cities are profitable, and what's the sort of, going forward that we can look at? Is there going to be a rationalization? We've seen that in some other sectors, people pulling out of markets that are non-performing and so on and so forth.
See, every Indian large-scale consumer company or industry is not just a 10 or 20 or 30 city phenomenon. You take telecom, it's even in the rural areas. You take FMCG like Unilever or any of these companies, Patanjali, it's a mass phenomenon. You take auto sector. A large part of auto sales come from the rural areas, right? Maruti gets a lot of its sales from the rural areas, and the distribution that they set up. Two-wheelers, right? So as an Indian, I fundamentally understand the Indian market, and ours is not an aspirational service only. It's a utilitarian need that everybody has. Hence, we want to make sure everybody gets access to this service. We'll have to innovate as we go deeper into the country, right? We'll have to build relevant solutions and relevant use cases for them. But the kind of scale and volume that India offers deep into each market, that is a very different opportunity, and the big cities is a very different opportunity. Both are equally important. And that's our strategy. We want to focus on both. And we are winning in the bigger cities also with innovations like Ola Play and Prime and Ola Select, like our loyalty program. And as we go deep, our solutions like our auto service, our e-rickshaw service, our outstation bike taxis, our intercity product, all these are further growing the market into the smaller cities and the hinterland.
All right. And in this, are you picking a leaf out of what Didi or Grab, or that global alliance that was formed, I think close to what, 18 to 24 months back against Uber? What were some of the thoughts when that alliance was formed? Where does that alliance stand now, given what we've seen happen between Didi and Uber in China? There are also reports of Grab setting up an R&D center in Bangalore. What happens to that alliance, and what were some of your learnings from that alliance while it lasted, perhaps?
See, the alliance is still there, and because there's business value in that, right? Gradually, as our platforms start talking to each other more, once we do integrations, people will be able to roam around the world just like you roam around with your cell phone, and your carrier changes depending on which country you are.
Sure.
But that's because of an alliance between these people, right? So that's the fundamental bedrock of the alliance. And we still meet, we still share a lot of ideas and thoughts and learnings. And see, India is a talent hub for the world. And somebody setting up a talent shop in India is a very different thing. It's a very parallel thing compared to the business, right? And most of these companies are in very independent markets, and that's why we are able to share with a lot of openness, ideas and thoughts.